It all began with a flyer Emma found tucked into her mailbox, a cheerful invitation to the annual neighborhood bake-off. Emma had moved to Willow Grove just a few months ago, and despite her efforts to settle in, she still felt like an outsider. The flyer, with its vibrant illustrations of cakes and pies, promised an afternoon of fun, community bonding, and delicious treats. She saw it as the perfect opportunity to break the ice and connect with her neighbors. The bake-off was less about competition and more about sharing stories and favorite family recipes. Emma loved baking. Her grandmother had taught her as a child, and their time spent in the kitchen was one of Emma's fondest memories. She decided to bake her grandmother's signature apple pie, a recipe that had been passed down through generations. The night before the event, Emma transformed her small kitchen into a baking haven. With soft music playing in the background, she carefully sifted flour, measured spices, and peeled apples. The smell of cinnamon, nutmeg, and caramelizing sugar filled the air. She worked meticulously, recalling her grandmother's advice to always bake with love. As the pie baked, Emma thought back to the countless afternoons she had spent with her grandmother, rolling dough and listening to stories about her youth. Those were the moments that shaped Emma's love for baking, and she wanted her pie to carry the same warmth and nostalgia to her new neighbors. On the morning of the bake-off, the neighborhood park buzzed with excitement. Tables lined with colorful cloths were set up under the shade of tall oak trees. Each table was laden with an array of desserts, cakes adorned with fresh berries, intricately decorated cookies, and tarts gleaming with glazes. Children darted between the tables, sneaking tastes while adults laughed and shared stories. Emma carried her pie carefully to her assigned spot, placing it on a stand she had decorated with flowers. Her nerves kicked in as she noticed how elaborate some of the other desserts were. A towering chocolate ganache cake caught her eye, as did a batch of macarons in pastel colors. Emma's pie, with its rustic lattice crust and golden hue, seemed simple in comparison, but she reminded herself of the story and effort behind it. As the event progressed, Emma struck up conversations with her neighbors. She met Mrs. Alvarez, a retired schoolteacher who had baked a lemon meringue tart in honor of her late husband, who loved citrus desserts. Then there was young Liam, a 10-year-old boy who proudly displayed a batch of chocolate chip cookies. Liam explained that he was raising money for a local animal shelter and had baked the cookies himself. Emma admired his determination and bought a few to support his cause. When people began tasting her apple pie, Emma was overwhelmed by their reactions. "This reminds me of my grandma's pie," one woman said, her eyes lighting up. A young couple with their toddler stopped by to try a slice and remarked how the flavors brought back memories of fall holidays. Emma felt a warm glow of pride. Her grandmother's recipe was doing exactly what it was meant to do, creating connections and bringing joy. The judges eventually gathered to announce the winners. A hush fell over the crowd as they revealed the first-place dessert, a vibrant rainbow cheesecake that had been the talk of the event. The baker, a teenager named Mia, beamed as she accepted her prize. Emma wasn't disappointed, though. She hadn't come to win. She had come to meet people and share a piece of her world. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the bake-off turned into a lively community gathering. Emma joined a group playing music, while others shared stories over cups of tea and coffee. She noticed Liam running around with his cookie jar nearly empty. His efforts to raise funds had been a resounding success. Mrs. Alvarez offered Emma a slice of her tart, and they sat together, chatting like old friends. When Emma returned home that evening, she felt a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in months. The bake-off had been about more than desserts. It had been a celebration of connection, stories, and the joy of coming together. Emma placed the remaining pie slices in her fridge and smiled, knowing she had found a community that felt like home.